Hey Talon, how you doing?
Doing great, Jason. Here in Australia.
Now this is the first. I've never actually done this in person with someone, so you're gonna have to bear with us. But let's jump straight in. So just tell people your story, tell people how you got here, tell people what you were dealing with.
Oh gosh. So I've actually had OP twice in my life. I didn't know the first time that I had it. I thought I was treating a pelvic stress fracture. And a pelvic stress fracture means rest and more rest. And what I found as I rested, things got worse. It was really, really confusing for me because I was doing exactly what the doctor told me to do, and I just kept getting worse. That first time that I had it, somehow, after 2 years or so, finally worked itself out and I figured it out. And I told myself I'd never let it happen again. I told myself that as I started to feel it creep in a little bit, I would back off. But somehow I found myself in worse shape than I had ever been before. About 8 years later. So the first time that I had it was pre-kids, I was young, I was in my 20s. I was in probably the best shape of my life. I was doing lots of speed workouts on the track, training for 5Ks, 10Ks, as well as...
That's right, you ran in college, didn't you? Am I remembering that right?
I wish. Well, actually, I ran a lot with the cross-country team and stuff, where I went to school, but I wasn't actually on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But running is my thing. Makes me me. So the second time that I got it was post-kids. So I know oftentimes, you categorize people into is it from pregnancy? Is it from being an elite
It's usually more true.
athlete?
It's just usually you know what that real category. There's no real categorization.
Sure.
What it normally is just that. Oh, if you got it from running, you're probably some version of an athlete, even if you're not a great athlete and stuff. You're probably some version of an athlete who's been to the gym before and who's done things and has done workouts. Whilst if you've gotten it off pregnancy, you could be that version. Or you could just be a person who's never exercised once in their life and then has just gotten this because a baby went in and destroyed your pelvis. And then it's just
And it pretty much does happen.
that happens in the best situations. But it is funny you categorize it like that, but really all I do is kind of be oh, okay, I probably shouldn't take for granted that you know what a rep and a set is, because you might not actually have never been to a gym in your life. Whilst, most runners, even if they hate the gym, have been to the gym and have done a gym workout. So that's usually the only reason I categorize those two. Sorry, go on with your story.
No, you are very right, though, because running is my thing. I don't stretch. I don't do any of that. I used to not stretch, right? I don't do any of that. So, working with you, even though it was in my basement, right, felt like I was going to the gym all the time, right? Which isn't my favorite thing, but I learned to love it. Okay, so what we really probably want to talk about is the second time that I had it, right?
Yeah.
And it was after my second child. And I was like, all right, I'm done having kids. I'm going to get back in the best shape of my life again. COVID hit, so I had my baby in January of 2020. And by 5 months post-baby, I was running under a 6-minute mile. Sorry, I speak in miles.
It's fast.
So I was feeling like I was doing really well. Races really weren't a thing, but there's this podcast that I listened to that decided to do a virtual beer mile. And I was like, I'm going to get into such good shape for this beer mile because it's the only kind of race I can do right now, and it's COVID. You want to have a little fun, right? So I'm doing speed workouts on the track. I'm doing speed workouts on my street with pushing, a 2-seat
stroller,
stuff, right? So I'm working really hard. And I start to feel that feeling creep in again as I'm getting into really good shape. And I was like, yeah, but I got to do this beer mile. So I kept going. All right, even though I told myself I would never do it again, right?
So just at this point of the story, a beer mile, I'm assuming, is some sort of race where you run a mile and get a beer, and then you run another mile and you get a...
You run a lap, so you run 400 meters, then you drink a beer, you run another one. Yeah.
And this requires training. You wanted to be in top shape for this.
I wanted to win, okay. And I did run a sub-9-minute beer mile, so you drink 4 beers in that thing.
Oh wait, you drink 4 meals and then you go for the run, or you go for a mile and you get them interspersed amongst your run?
So 400 meters, then you drink a beer. Another 400 meters, drink a beer. Another 400 meters, drink a beer. Or maybe you start with one. You must start with one. Yeah, so you drink 4 by the
And I assume they make you sit down and drink it properly, so you can't just skull half of it and tip half of it down your shirt.
I mean, no, you're in it to win, right? So you don't run a sub 9-minute beer mile if you're not standing,
drinking
drinks. We're not taking breaks here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you think, but what stops you from half drinking it, half spilling it out the side of your mouth?
Well, then you'd be DQ'd if you don't actually drink it.
Oh, okay. Someone's watching. Okay. As since you're in Australia, the beer part of this is important. So I thought we should just clear that up. Sorry.
Important.
Keep going.
Okay. So, but more importantly, right? So I completed the beer mile, right? And then I was like, all right, I got to take some time off.
Sure.
And so I started seeing, lots of different doctors going in. I tell them, hey, I've had this before. And I know exactly what it is. It's a pelvic stress fracture. But let's go confirm it, whatever, right? So MRI after MRI, and everybody thinks it's this pelvic stress fracture because that's what I had last time. And as they would look at it, they would say, yeah, it looks like a pelvic stress fracture, right? So I had like probably 5 MRIs throughout this course because I kept trying different doctors, nothing was working. As I kept resting, because that's what they always told me to do, it just got worse and worse and worse, and far worse than it ever had been before. For me, the feeling is all in the pubic bone. Like I don't feel it anywhere else, which is probably also why, people kept thinking it was bone related. I found doctors who treat pro athletes all over the world. I found a doctor who treats Mike Tyson at every fight and stuff. I found all sorts of people just desperately trying to find anybody who could fix me. And nobody actually through this journey really told me that OP was my problem. So luckily it was COVID, so I work in business. So for about 5 months, I worked on my couch with my legs up, with my computer here, and I never moved except to go to the bathroom. Couldn't hold my children, couldn't walk to the kitchen to make a sandwich.
Was it you who couldn't walk upstairs?
Oh, stairs was the hardest thing for me.
That's right,
and Jason,
I remember that.
I'm so happy to share. I'm doing stairs now.
We just walked up some stairs.
We did. And I can wear heels again.
I'm not so happy about that.
I know you did say no one should ever wear heels, right? I barely do it, but every once in a while.
It's for like a wedding and stuff, and then you should take them off 3 hours in when you're drunk enough to not care.
Totally.
And then,
I agree. It's very weird. But I can do it, thanks to you. So, I mean, I got to a point where honestly I was probably depressed. My husband said I was depressed. I would cry all the time. The only thing that soothed me was laying in a bath, and I would sit in that bath for like hours just bawling, not knowing where to go. And finally I just decided, all right, this is it. Like, I'm sick of going to see doctors. Every one of them asks for an MRI and, do the whole thing, and then I get nowhere, right? Every single time. And I said, I just need to be my own health advocate. So I just mad Google searched, going crazy, everything in every MRI I've gotten. I Googled every word. And somehow Osteitis Pubis led me to the OP clinic via Google, and I started listening to the testimonials that you had out there. And I was like, this is me. This is my story. I can't stand. I can't walk. I can't hold my kids. And the more that I rest, the worse it gets. Yeah, which no one ever told me, right?
It's the nuts thing, because it's kind of like, it's so hard, because like, if you just did it, it makes sense to like rest it for 3 weeks, rest it, do you know what I mean? Like maybe even rest it for a month, right? Like if you just did it, it just started hurting, right? It's just like, or it's like, cool, that thing you've been doing isn't working, so more of it is probably not going to work, and even more of it is probably not going to work even more so, sort of things. And yeah, I always do find it a little strange on that front, because that's the story from everyone. It's not as bad now, it's just not recommended if you do get the OP diagnosis, but if you get the stress fracture diagnosis, you'll get the same like thing though. And like the thing that no one really talks about is we don't really, like, where is the line between, there's a little bit of pressure in your pubic bone, we can see that in a scan, and that's a stress fracture. Like, we don't really have a definitive line on that. So like, I think if you took everyone who had OP, their scan, you gave it to someone, you said, hey, I'm pretty sure they have stress fractures, I'm pretty sure they could find things to be like, oh yeah, there isn't a definitive one, but yeah, we can see a stress reaction, we can see all these stress things and stuff, which is just like, yeah, your pubic bone's pretty pissed off. Like, it seems pretty angry and pissed off, and you seem to keep doing things that are pissing it off. We should probably change that, and resting isn't going to change that kind of things.
And yet no one ever described it in the same way that you did. Like, just saying, yeah, it's pissed off. It's, I mean, like, that type of stuff, it just spoke right to me. And I was like, yes, this is what I have. I mean, things like, one time I was actually making some progress with a physical therapist, and then I opened a super heavy door, and holy shit, it just put me out. And that's when I'm like, this thing isn't bone related. Like, I'm like, there's something else going on there.
Because like, you are putting pressure on your bone, but it's not like someone's taking a hammer and smacking it in your bone when you're pulling a heavy door, right? It's like the compression is going badly when you're needing to stabilize the pelvis like that, sort of things. Okay, so then we should skip ahead, right? So you start the program, things are going well, whatever.
Oh, I have to tell you about how when I first sent you videos, though, first of all.
Yeah.
So my husband was going to pizza night at his family's. It's like our Sunday tradition, and I missed a lot of them because I literally couldn't even stand, to go there. And it was such a confusing injury, right? I felt so stupid. I'd go there and have to sit on the couch, and not even be able to communicate to them.
Well, how do you tell them what's wrong with you? It's just like this really pain. It's like right here, and it's really painful.
Exactly. Yes, plenty of jokes that I've heard from friends around that. But, and so he's leaving, and I'm like, you know what? I believe the OP clinic, this thing is what's going to save me. I'm like, I'm going to hang back, and I'm going to take videos of myself doing these exercises that, he says to do, and send them to this man in Australia. And he literally walked out the door saying, you are literally going to die. This guy is going to come after you. I don't know what the hell you're doing. And he slams the door and walks out.
You seem so nice. I just met her husband 2 minutes ago.
He normally is, but this was a very, very low point for us because we just didn't understand what was happening to my body and why, and it was taking such an emotional toll on me. Let alone everything he had to do, having 2 kids and a wife who literally couldn't stand or do anything but lay on the couch. So
it's such a hard thing. I think something people don't really something that I spend a lot of time explaining, especially if someone's had an injury for a long time. It's just everything you do in the world, you interpret through the lens of your body, right? You wake up, if you go to walk into your bathroom, if you're left-handed, you will walk into that room and angle things in a different position to advantage your left hand versus right. Everything is everything you interpret in life goes through your eyes, and your eyes, before you even consciously think about it, are already interpreting the physical environment for threats, dangers, opportunities, and all that kind of stuff. So if every time you look out your eyes, your brain is just immediately going, you're broken, you can't move, everything in this environment is dangerous to you, right? It's really hard, and I didn't have OP, but I had chronic lower back pain. It's really hard to kind of express to people just that really low-level nagging sense of unease that is never...
100%.
Yeah, it just doesn't go away, and it's just, you're not comfortable in your skin because you don't ever feel properly safe. Because one little twist, one little movement, one little things. And then even then, right, you've given birth to children. Clearly your pain tolerance is probably pretty good, right? But it's not the nature of the pain. It's not how painful it was, right? It's just what does this mean that kills you, right? Because you're sitting in your shower by yourself, and it's kind of hey, what does this mean? Am I going to be able to run again? What is this going to mean? If it's this bad now and I'm so young, what is it going to be when I'm 55 and 65, right?
So true. A lot of it was the fear of making it worse from everything that I was doing.
And then it's kind of and then coming back to what you said about the language, right? To me, it's kind of everything's couched in these really technical ways, which is obviously to avoid litigation, right? You've got to be careful about what you say and how you say it, and you give someone a diagnosis and all that stuff. But all it really ever does is it just creates this island between the person who's trying to get better and the things they need to do, because it's just yeah, sure, you can give people instructions, but if every other word that's coming out of your mouth is just kind of doesn't really resonate with the person because you can't connect with it, then it's not really your injury at that point, right? You don't have a connection to it. Whilst to me, if you the word pissed off, or it's annoyed, or it's angry, right? I would hope that you can emotionally connect to that because you're living it. Do you know what I mean? You're living it inside your pelvis. And to me, that's the first thing, okay, well, then what's the opposite of that? I've got to make it feel happy. Okay, cool. Well, if you bend your hips a little bit more in that squat, does that make it feel less angry and pissed off, and does it make it feel happier? And it's yeah, cool, okay, well, cool, now can you just do that for the rest of your life and you'll probably be okay. But that contextualization of going, I'm this disconnected person who has all these thoughts that are really scary about my future and my life and what this means for my body, versus, I'm in my body and I'm feeling these things. Half the time I always think it's just that you're so disconnected from your body at that point that it seems so scary that it just makes everything 10 times worse. I don't know, does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me it's when people go through that, they get stuck in this cycle sometimes where they'll just end up trying to do the right things, but they can't follow through because they're just so scared that anything they do is going to make it worse. So it's kind of let me zip through onto that question then, which is basically, okay, so you record some sort of videos at some point, right? And then something goes wrong and it hurts. You make a mistake, or the exercise I gave you was just a little too advanced for what you were ready for. How did you feel when that happened? What went through your head when you were I'm doing well and now I'm doing badly again, kind of thing?
Well, honestly, the most empowering part of this journey was that you gave me the tools to be able to get out of it. So getting a flare-up or something like that was always my biggest fear, right? If I'd make progress and then all of a sudden I flare up, right? It's oh my gosh, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And then the emotion sets in again, right? But through working with you, I had the tools to fix it. And that first time, which I mean, it probably didn't happen until several weeks in, probably 6 weeks in or something like that, that I actually learned to be able to manage my OP, was the most empowering moment ever. And so, I actually totally remember that day that it happened, and I was like, Zach, to my husband, I was like, just give me a minute, I'm going to go downstairs, I'm going to do some exercises, and I think I can get through this. And before, I would have just gone into a hole.
Yeah.
And I went down there, I fixed it, and we celebrated. So it was the most empowering moment.
It's funny because it's like everyone wants to know about like the exercises or like what things. It's just like, and it's like, oh no, it's like you can use any exercise. You can like, you know what I mean? Like I rip half my stuff off like from weightlifting and yoga and all this stuff, but it's just like, and I have stuff I like that works. But the reason it works is because I'm used to it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, if I'm a plumber and I have a certain set of tools, I will always use those tools. Why would I change my tools, right? So I have all these exercises, but that's just not the important bit. The important bit is that moment where you're just like, oh, hey, yeah, I really get it now. My body is just a machine and the machine's not running well, and I just gotta like go there and do something about it. Otherwise, what else am I gonna do? My life's just gonna suck if I don't do this. Like, no one is coming to save me. I've just gotta like go and do that. And to me, it's like, oh, the minute you have that moment where you just like fix it, it's just like, all right, cool. Maybe you really want to run a marathon, and every time we try to get you to run, something goes wrong with your knee, and then it's your hip, and then it's your back, and it's just like, oh, cool, it doesn't matter. Like, you're fine now. Like, you're emotionally fine. You'll just keep working until you figure it all out. Maybe you have the most complicated case in the world. It doesn't matter at this point. You'll just keep working until you get better. And to me, it's like sometimes I'll get the opposite type of client where it's like, oh, physically it's really not that bad. Things aren't that bad. You're like, you're not even in pain if you're walking. It's just when you're running. But it's like they can never cross that bridge of just like, oh, okay, I've got to fix this. There's something wrong with me. They're still just waiting for like a magic wand to come and make their pelvis feel better. And it's like, oh, and it's like, and obviously comparison isn't the right thing, but it's kind of like, oh, sometimes I wish it was just like, I wish you could just go spend the day with someone who's really can't walk. Like they can't walk without feeling it. They can't things.
Well, and that's where the mental piece comes in.
Yeah.
And I love that you make us watch an insane amount of videos before even working with you at all. And a lot of it is around the psychology of things, which normally, I'm a very like literal person. I'm very like if A then B, and normally I would say no, like there's no way it's in my mind, right? And the breathing exercise is not, it's just like not me. But there was something about the way that you spoke that I believed it. I was like, wow, this is actually in my head. And maybe part of it too was that, because I did think that it was like literally a crack in my bone. And when I learned that it wasn't, I was like, wow, maybe I was almost making this pain out to be worse than it was, or, like that fear really crept in. And I think that is also what kind of helped me to power through, like some of the exercises that, I was worried, oh, maybe this is going to cause a flare-up or make things worse. And I was like, no, like trust the process, you can do it, and just kind of getting it out of your head. And I think we worked together for about like 4.5, 5 months, I think. And I will say that even when we stopped working together, like I still felt my OP. But what you had shared is that like it's pissed off, right? Your pubic bone is pissed off, and it's going to keep being pissed off. Like it takes a while for it to settle down, I think was kind of, I don't know how exactly you described it, but that was really empowering to me to know, what, actually like it's still going to hurt sometimes and still creep in, but like you told me, you're like, but you're better, Talon, you're better. Like you've mastered all of these exercises, you're better, and like you have to remember that. And that's what helped me to kind of keep going.
And I think like what's really important to take away from that, if you're watching this, is just this idea that it's like, oh, it'd be like trying to say, oh, I've solved all the problems in my relationship, and now we're just going to be happily and blissfully married forever. It's just like, oh, cool, so you're never going to have another problem again the rest of your relationship. Like nothing ever is going to, it's just like, oh no, of course shit's going to happen, right? Like, of course you're going to have to deal with stuff. Of course there's going to be fights and stuff, right? It's the same thing with your body, right? It's like, oh, of course there's going to be these shitty moments. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, if like, I've never kind of been in it, but like, if you're in a relationship and, I don't know, a partner cheats on you, and then that partner, I don't know, like if there's a weakness there, then you're going to be more vulnerable to those kind of things, right? Like if that partner then grabs his phone mysteriously, I'd just be like, sorry buddy, you lost the right to like hide your phone, show your partner your phone, you cheated on them before, right? Like, but like, you know, there's going to be more of a weakness, it's going to be more touchy, it's going to be more overreactive, and it's then no different with the body, right? One thing I wouldn't agree with you is that I think you're very mechanistic, and what I mean by that is kind of going, I don't think you'd have problems with believing in anything if you understood the mechanism of it, kind of things. Yeah. So I think what you did was you were able to go, hey, and so just for a little bit more context, there's this thing called neuroplastic pain, which basically is when you have a chronic pain condition, it will start to change and influence the amount of pain receptors physically in your body, how they function, and then more importantly, how your brain interprets those signals. And basically, the easiest way to understand is the sensitivity just gets ramped up. And then the more scared you are, the more the sensitivity increases. In much the same way, if I'm going like, hey, Talon, there's like a big giant spider behind you, the big giant spider, and then someone like taps you on the shoulder, right? You're gonna lose your shit. Kind of things. It's the same thing with your body. If you think you're broken and you're just constantly telling yourself, I have a crack in my bone and this is never going to get better until it gets healed, it's like, oh, rehab is always going to seem stupid, right? Like, because it's just going to be like, how could that fix a crack in the bone? Because like, you can't. It's working your muscles and your fascia. But the second that you can start being like, oh yeah, I'm doing this to myself and I can learn behaviors to not do this, to do something different. It's like, oh, that mechanism is functional, that makes sense, I can see that sort of things. And yeah, so I would say you were always very mechanistic. If you understood why something was happening, then you could go put the work in to fix it. But to me, it's like, oh no, I think that's the best way to be. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the word stubborn, but I think people should hold on to their beliefs. Do you know what I mean? But if someone can explain, you're open to it and show you a better way, then you should also be very quickly to be like, no, that makes more sense. Let me go with that kind of things through there. And yeah, I think like, you know, some people are kind of like, oh yeah, I'm willing to be patient. And I'm like, no, don't be patient. You should get better faster. Like, that's great. But be mechanistic in that it's like, hey, yeah, it might take you 12 months to get back to where you want to. But to me, you're better at 3 months if you know you just have to keep doing what you're doing and you do all the right things, because then it's just like, that's just time. That's just time and repetition, right? Yeah. And then to come back to one of our things, the hardest thing is trying to get people out of that medicine kind of mindset of like, I've got to wait for this to heal and I'm broken, and until someone who knows more than me says so, I can't run and I can't do this. Whereas like, even people ask me, when can I run? I'd be like, can you execute A, B, and C? Can you get your feet to work? Can your glutes do this? Cool, the second you can do those things, we'll start you running. Now maybe you can't run a lot, maybe you do things, but it's mechanical. You can do this, therefore you should be able to do this safely, kind of thing.
And I did need you to push me a bit, you know. I just kept doing those circles in my basement.
You wouldn't go up the stairs. You would go.
I know, and you're like, you're better. Like, you can get out there. You can do this. And I just, I had to realize, it's just.
I feel like I told you go climb upstairs, and then you did set off a cute episode. I feel like that happened at some point. Did that happen? Did I tell you?
Yeah. I mean, a bit, right? But I mean, that's also part of the process, right? I mean, there are. Throughout this journey, most people probably will do some sort of exercise
and hurt themselves.
Either do it wrong or do it too quickly or whatever it is, and hurt themselves, right? I mean, that is part of this process for most people. That happens a couple of times at least with working with you. So, I mean, but it's worth it to get better. One thing that I think is interesting for people to know is I always wanted to do every exercise absolutely perfectly. And I would think that I was there, right? And they'd be like, no, like this, you know, drawing the lines on the screen, which is so cool. But, you know, I'd say, no, like you need to do it this way. I think at the end of the day, though, like you don't actually have to do things perfectly right, to get better. And once I realized that, I felt a whole lot better. Because I, in the beginning, spent like too long focusing on mastering like super simple things. Yeah. When I probably could have just realized, okay, like good is good enough. Keep going. Like at least I'm doing something. I am not laying on the couch anymore. I am actually building up my glute muscles. I'm actually, you know.
Forward movement is better than no movement. Yes. Yeah. It's funny when you say that, because the way I would describe that would be to go, it's better to test through challenge than to try to build something perfect. So it's just be like, all right, cool, your feet are connecting, your glutes are activating. Are you perfectly aligned? No, you're tipping to the side. You know what's gonna happen if we add 10 kilos though? You're either gonna tip more to the side, which is gonna make it really obvious to fix it, or you're just going to naturally straighten up because you're not going to get away with being able to be crooked with no weight, whilst you can't when you've got 10 kilos. And the trick is always just going, well, if we give you 20, you're probably going to throw your back out. If we give you 5, it's probably going to do nothing. You're probably going to keep your crappy technique. Where's that perfect amount of challenge where it's like enough to realize you're not quite where you need to be, but not so much that you hurt yourself when you make a mistake, kind of things. But yeah, it's interesting that you put that idea that what happens is that at the beginning, you don't have a great connection to your body, so you're going to grasp for things you can understand. My back looks out, especially if you care. Some people don't care. They're just like, they'll send me anything. But like, if you can't feel things really well, then you'll grasp on what you can visually see. My back is out, my hips are to the side. Jason said my toes have to be straight. And it's like, it's straight enough, Talon. Like, don't worry about it. But like, it's like, and then the hope is that when you can start feeling, you'll be like, oh my God, my glutes are firing so well. Jesus Christ, when I run, my feet connect so great. That you almost just kind of like don't sweat the little things because you're just like, oh, that feels so stable. I couldn't possibly be putting pressure on my pelvis because my glutes are firing so well, or my core is working so well with my breath or something like that. And then you just don't sweat it. And then it's when you lose that feeling, it's just like, why do I not feel right today? Oh, I don't feel as safe when I'm running because my right foot is not connected to the ground as much. That's the feeling of unease I'm getting, and I should just slow down until I can get that instead of finishing my beer mile. And then I'll finish my beer mile once my foot is connecting well together because my body's telling me it's unhappy, and rather than waiting for it to yell at me, which is what pain is, right? I'm just going to hear that unhappiness, and I'm so tuned into what my body tells me now that I don't need arbitrary things like even form to really be a guiding light. I can just go off what feels solid and stable and what makes me feel safe and secure versus, oh, this thing looks right, or someone said this is how I'm supposed to do something, which is good. You got to learn at some point, right? But at a certain point, it has to become yours, right? Master. Okay, let's finish this all off. If you were to just leave anyone with any sort of last piece of advice when they're trying to deal with their OP journey and everything they're trying to go through, just what would you want to hit them with?
Yeah, gosh. Jason knows what he's talking about. Just trust the process, and you can get better. And also, your Facebook group, definitely join that.
People don't do that.
It's such a community.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
How much we rely on each other, help one another out, through the flare-ups, through, when you're pissed off at Jason, or watching you, make you watch too many videos and things like that. Really, it's such a great community and really, really worth it.
I promise I will never go on this. People can complain as much as they need to about me. That's fair enough. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.